Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
A very good evening to all our viewers. It's 9th of December 2017 and welcome to a brand new edition of News First Weekend. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
2018 budget approved in Parliament with 155 votes in favour and 56 against. Gazette declares railways an essential service. Workers not reporting to work considered as having vacated posts. Companies under concession agreement officially take over Hambantota port. Farmers suffering worsens as fertilizer scarcity deepens.
Well, this evening we will be broadcasting live from Echelon Square here in Colombo. Live from Echelon Square here in
Newsfirst Christmas Centre at Echelon Square.
We now cross over to Shehan Ranatunga.
That's right, Aruthnati. We're coming to you live from Echelon Square.
Yes, Shehan. Good evening, Shehan.
We're coming to you live from Echelon Square, and this is history as you are seeing it, because for the first time in Sri Lanka's news history, you are seeing a news bulletin being broadcast live from a Christmas zone. And we've got Yes 101, we've got Legends, and we have the News First Christmas Zone right here. And if you haven't already got down here, you need to get down here right now, because this is the place you want to be this Christmas. Check it out, look at it out, look at this, look at all the lights, look at all the trees, look at this beautiful surrounding, and we have a massive crowd here. And before we go into the news, let's speak to a few of the spectators that we have here this evening. Hi, good evening. What brings you all here to this place?
Hi, good evening. What brings you all here to this place?
Well, apparently we're celebrating my birthday.
You're celebrating your birthday? Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. What's your name?
My name is Emma.
Hi, Emma. We would like to wish you a happy birthday. So tell us, why are you here apart from that?
Like here in Sri Lanka? Yes. We work here, everybody, as volunteers.
Excellent. Have you seen anything like this before?
No, this is beautiful.
It is so beautiful. Yeah. It's so extraordinary, and it's just like it brings life and people here. It's very nice.
Excellent. Thank you very much for taking part. We must get back to the news right now. Ramesh, it's over to you.
Well, thank you, Shehan. Good evening. I think our places should have swapped tonight, Shehan, but as always, I'm here to bring you the news. Let's get on with the stories that made headlines tonight. As you know, there was a train strike that was launched a couple of days back, and there were discussions today as well. Well, railway trade unions announced the strike action launched 2 days ago will continue tomorrow as well. The unions have various grievances, including salary anomalies.
There are over 350 daily train turns. Today, the train turns were limited to 10. Gazette notification issued declaring railways an essential service. Strike action continues, defying Gazette. Our union fully supports this trade union action, which was launched over the non-approval of the cabinet paper to rectify the salary anomaly presented under the patronage of the Prime Minister. I would also like to announce that this strike action will continue further.
We will not be intimidated by any move to suppress trade unions. We began our strike on the 6th at midnight, demanding that the cabinet paper submitted by the Prime Minister and the Transport Minister be approved. We will not report to work no matter what threats are issued at us. However, we have taken measures to report this matter to the international community.
Well, Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva says the Gazette has been issued declaring railways as an essential service. Any railway worker who fails to report to work shall be considered as having vacated his or her post. The minister added that private buses will be authorized to ply on the expressways without a permit as long as the railway strike continues.
They came in for talks and agreed to call off the strike action. But after leaving the room following the talks, they've continued with the strike action. This group cannot be trusted. The Prime Minister and I have issued a joint letter for the salary rate they request to be given. But the Salaries and Cadre Management Department says this cannot be done because it would cause a massive issue to the wages of workers of other grades. Then health trade unions say if the salary rate is given, they will go on strike. The health trade unions are against this. We call on these workers to immediately report to work, or else we will inform them in writing that they will be considered as having vacated their posts. We will take such legal measures.
Well, the third reading of the 2000 is passed with a majority of votes today. 155 votes were cast in favor of the budget, while 56 votes were cast against the 2018 budget.
Condominium Tattu Niwas Sandha 2018
VAT, which was to be imposed from 2018 on condominiums, will not be imposed on units that valued less than 10 million rupees. The government has not granted permission to produce spirits using rice. However, it was permitted by the Mahinda Rajapaksa government in 2006.
Mahinda Rajapaksa Rajya visi.
In 2006, the then government in power had permitted one company to use rice as raw material to produce spirits. Recently, permission was granted to that company to use corn as raw material in addition to rice.
According to the extraordinary gazette, rice is listed as a raw material to be used to produce spirits.
Please be patient. This is not something new. We impose a tax on that.
This is a time when there is a rice shortage and rice is being imported.
MP Bandula Gunawardena, you always say something with another motive. When you were making your statement, you failed to mention that it was the government that granted permission for this initially. This government granted permission for the first time. You were a member in the Mahinda Rajapaksa government. I am referring to the approval that was given by the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa, in which both you and I were in. When Mahinda Rajapaksa was president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa was defense secretary and Basil Rajapaksa was heading something else. So don't conceal anything.
Well, the concession agreement relating to the development of the Hambantota port through a public-private partnership came into effect today.
A special event was held at the Parliamentary Complex this morning under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to mark the occasion. This marks the operationalization of the agreement signed between the Sri Lanka Ports Authority and China Merchant Port Holdings on the 29th of July. The Hambantota International Port Group and the Hambantota International Port Services Company, which are companies established under the concession agreement, officially took over operations of the Hambantota port today. The first installment, which is 30% of the investment value, was officially handed over by the China Merchants Group.
The Hambantota port adds on to our concept of Sri Lanka, the hub of the Indian Ocean. One port on the western side, Colombo, one port on the southern side, Hambantota, one port on the eastern side, Trincomalee. This port is also linked to the objective of one belt, one road, which have been proposed by President Xi. The Maritime Silk Road, the modern Maritime Silk Road. 2016, the discussions we had with President Xi, and again in 2017, we were able to arrive at agreements for the development of the port and also the development of the hinterland. The new addition to the port, we will also be having industrial estates, a large number of industrial estates for which land is being identified. A new organization, the Ruhuna Economic Development Corporation, is being established to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of factories coming in. But it means infrastructure development. Already discussions are underway on a oil refinery, on a LNG plant, on a dockyard, on a cement plant, on a steel billet plant, among others. So we can see the revival of the economy of Ruhuna.
And also our vision is to grow with Sri Lanka as a whole, as a partner. Our sustainable development vision is realizing long-term partnership, just like a PPP project in Newcastle Port of Australia. Hambantota Port is the second port which we devote ourselves for a century time, 100 years, to cooperate with you. And I have no doubt that this project will provide significant employment opportunities, especially to the natives of Hambantota and those residing in nearby towns.
The total investment being made by the Chinese for the Hambantota port adds up to $1.12 billion. 30% of the investment value comes up to $330 million. However, only $292 million was handed over today. When Newsfirst inquired into the matter, the Ministry of Ports and Shipping stated that $974 million of the total investment will be the loan repayment for the Hambantota port, while $146 million is entering the country as a direct investment. The ministry noted that 30% of $974 million was handed in by the Chinese company today. However, there were numerous views that were expressed in various political forums on how the Hambantota port deal would strengthen the economy. Let's use the failing port to help everyone stand up. We were deep in trouble because we were finding it difficult to pay back our debts and because the economy was failing. The mother and the son were both on life support. We need at least $1 billion to keep our head above the water. If we give up 80%, we will be able to bring in $1.1 billion, and this will reduce the burden on us. We will be getting over 1,100 million by handing over Hambantota to a Chinese company in installments. When the company takes over, these will be an increase in naval traffic, and we will be getting a share of these profits as well.
We are going to sign the Hambantota port deal. We are going to go with it. We have negotiated, and we have negotiated hard. We are going to basically reap maybe $1.1 billion, maybe $400 billion of that just in this year. I do not agree with the investments in Hambantota. I think they were big mistakes and we should not forget it. But the real question is, what do you make out of a mistake that has already been made? We need to make sure that we are able to get the maximum out of those buried investments.
When the Hambantota port was being leased, the government said that they received 1,400 million. However, they have only received 294 million. Where is the remaining money? They are yet to receive it. This is a scam. The country has suffered a loss. The Prime Minister kept the check on his shoulders and showcased it very proudly. He boasted that they are going to receive 1,400 million.
Well, the proposal on the concession of the Hambantota port was debated in Parliament yesterday. The motion was passed in Parliament yesterday with a majority of votes. There were only 7 votes that were cast against this motion, and that was by the JVP.
If this is a new investment, then there should be a new product as well. There is nothing new in these 2 gazettes. These gazettes have only slapped a price tag on the existing port. The Strategic Development Projects Act has provisions to grant tax breaks for new investments. This is not a new investment if there are tax concessions in this price tag of $1,400 million. If there is a clause regarding a tax concession in the agreement, then we should raise the estimated price. These moves grant tax concessions for companies. Are you here representing companies? Are you here to act as brokers for companies? Are you agents of various companies? We believe that they are supposed to be the representatives of the public. However, your actions prove that you are agents of companies and not representatives of the public. That is why you impose taxes on the public and grant concessions on companies. It has come to a point where the country is being run by the agents of various companies. This is not the only thing. We are handing over a great deal of land as well. 400 acres of the port lands and a further 2,998 acres of land adjacent to these lands are being given away. We are handing over port services. We have imposed regulations on ourselves which restrict us from doing anything with regard to the Hambantota harbour. Can you call yourselves public representatives? We feel that you are agents of companies.
Members of the joint opposition who did not vote for this proposal spoke up in Parliament today and expressed their opposition against the vote itself.
We agreed with the government. We agreed with you that we will have this debate. However, the debate was taken up well before the allocated time. This resulted in a disruption of our activities. Our members didn't get the chance to attend the vote. Mr. Speaker, this is a violation of standing orders and traditions.
We always schedule the adjournment for 6:30 p.m. But if we finish work early, then we have the adjournment before the scheduled time. Yesterday was a Parliament day. They should have been in Parliament. They go around everywhere in the morning and turn up here at 7:30.
Mr. Speaker, this is the legislature. You give us a time to pass a certain legislation, and then if you pass it beforehand, it is illegal.
They were here, but they didn't vote. MPs Dinesh, Bandula and Vasu did not vote.
We didn't roam around. We were given a time and it was 7:30. As an MP, I did not get a chance to vote. The leader of the house is saying we are roaming from morning. Are you telling us to sleep here from 6 a.m.?
The agreement reached at the party leaders' meeting was to have the debate from 7:30 to 9:30. Later I got to know that the final scheduled speech was made, and based on the consensus of the House, a decision was reached to bring this forward. The vote began at 7:42. This was done with the consent of the House. These are people who slept in Parliament. These are people who stole jewelry as well. They didn't have the motivation to do it for this. What they are trying to do is to show the country that they are against the Chinese.
Can you tell me what kind of income you are expecting from this? The port won't have to pay any taxes for a number of decades. These are the concessions that you have granted. This gazette was issued by Minister Malik Samaravikrama. I believe that the Minister of Finance has also signed off on it. The Minister of Finance should present us the details of the tax revenue we will receive from this port.
කීරි සම්බ නැහැ සුදුහලුත් නැහනේ. තව මේ ආඩුවන රුපියල් 60ට සිල්ලර මිල හැදුවොත් තමයි හොඳ.
රටහල් නම් කන්න බෑ මේ බඩ දැවිල්ල ඒක රටහල් කන්න බෑ.
ලංකාවේ හාල් ගණන් වැඩි නිසා මිනිසුන්ට ජීවත් වෙන ක්‍රමයකුත් තියෙන එපා මොනවා හරි ඉතින් මේ රටහල් මිනිසුන්ට කන්න වෙන මොනවා කරන්නේ.
පිටරට හාල් නම් කන්න නම් බෑ. ඒ වගේ ආයි ගෙන්නන්න නම් ගෙන්නනවට වඩා හොඳයි නිකන් ඉන්න එක.
මේ මොනවා කරනවද කියලා මට නම් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ඔය තියෙන අය නම් කටි බොති නටති නැති බැරි අය බලන් ඉතිගෙන වගේ තමයි.
If you take a look at the market situation today, a kilogram of locally produced rice is over 100 rupees. However, you can only purchase a kilogram of imported rice for less than 100 rupees. Please bear in mind that this is the holiday season, and in a few months, in 2018, we enter the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Until now, from the information that we have, the farmers have not been able to cultivate for more than 5 harvesting seasons, despite a sufficient amount of rainfall received in several areas. Now, according to the farmers, the rainfall was sufficient for them to harvest, but in order to obtain the best harvest, they still need the urea fertilizer, because urea fertilizer is an important aspect in farming in Sri Lanka. Even today, the farmers are facing many difficulties because of the shortage of urea fertilizer. And this is what the farmers had to say to Newsfirst today. I have with me the chairman of the UB12 Farmers Society, C.H. Kumara. Tell us about what has happened.
It has come to a point where it is useless for farmers to use fertilizer. The officials said that they had sufficient stocks of fertilizer and they could easily supply it. However, there is no urea fertilizer in this district nor in the country. We can't carry on with our lives. We cannot teach our children. We cannot buy medicine. We are destitute. We are afraid that our farmlands will turn into simple grasslands.
යලි වතාවක් මුඩුබිම් බවට පත් වෙයි කියලා තමයි අපිට බය තියෙන්නේ.
දැන් මාසයක් වෙනවා මේ ගුවන් වලට. නමුත් මේ
It has been a month since the seeds were sown, but there is no fertilizer. We are suffering on a daily basis. If the farmer falls, the entire country falls. This cultivation here is 21 days old. I need to put fertilizer within the next 20 days. There is no fertilizer. The usual price of fertilizer is 1,390 rupees, but there isn't any fertilizer to be purchased even for 5,000 rupees. There is no point in putting fertilizer if there are further delays. The people of this country were looking to the seas, waiting for fuel shipments. The farmers are today looking to the seas, waiting for the arrival of fertilizers. Moving forward, all I can say is God bless the farmers and the innocent general public.
There is no need to be afraid. The two state institutions will ensure that we provide the fertilizer required for the Maha season. We are taking the necessary steps to ensure that fertilizer reaches the required areas. If there is a need for fertilizer, speak to the local warehouse managers of the Ceylon Fertilizer Company and Colombo Commercial. Then we will be able to send the required fertilizer to the areas. We have taken steps to import 36,000 tons of fertilizer. Do not stock up on fertilizer because there is a shortage. Buy only what you need. The fertilizer that was used to be imported by the private sector did not reach the country in time. They are cooperating with us. They could send us around 10,000 tons of fertilizer by next week. Furthermore, 15,000 tons of fertilizer will reach the shores of the country within the next 3 weeks. This will also be imported by the private sector. Now the authorities are telling the farmers do not purchase extra stocks of fertilizer from the storage facilities and store it at your houses. It is common knowledge that only a certain amount of urea fertilizer is required per acre of paddy land that is cultivated. Therefore, the farmers only purchase the required amount of fertilizer. We also mentioned to you yesterday about the tender process. We are on the 21st of November 2017. A tender process was approved even with the Cabinet Procurement Committee. However, several days later, that tender was cancelled. It is in this same environment that the private sector was also given an opportunity to import urea fertilizer to the country. Now, we are told that the private sector has an extra stock of around 32,000 metric tons of fertilizer right now. And even the two state-owned companies have around 10,000 metric tons of extra urea fertilizer stored in their facilities. We are also informed that the global market price of urea fertilizer is gradually increasing. And sources close to authorities have told us that it is more profitable to sell mixed fertilizer rather than selling urea fertilizer alone. Now, in this situation, and with the situation of a shortage of fertilizer in the market in Sri Lanka, the private sector and the two state-owned companies have agreed to release a certain amount of their extra stocks of urea fertilizer. You might remember yesterday we mentioned about the 72,000 metric ton fertilizer tender process. If the two state-owned companies and the private sector release a sufficient amount of their urea fertilizer, that would be around 20,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer. Of that amount, if you deduct it from the 72,000 metric tons, you still need around 50,000 metric tons of fertilizer. We are being told for the second tender process of 36,000 metric tons of fertilizer, discussions are ongoing, and then there are also discussions with the Pakistan High Commissioner to purchase fertilizer from Pakistan. Whatever the situation may be, if fertilizer is not added to these paddy fields, there will be a shortage of rice in the country. So what we have to say to the authorities is, do not play with the lives of the farmers. If you don't give them the fertilizer, we will not have sufficient harvest, and without a sufficient harvest, there will be a shortage of rice in the country, and in the end, it is the people, the consumers, who will have to suffer.
You are joining Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Echelon Square where the Newsfirst Christmas Centre is located. Well, President Maithripala Sirisena paid his respects to the late Dottie Vijay Gunaratne, the mother of Chief of Defence Staff Admiral Ravindra C. Vijay Gunaratne.
Last evening, the President visited the residence of late Dottie Vijay Gunaratne located in Yatadulavatta, Mathugama, and paid his respects. Dottie Vijay Gunaratne passed away on Wednesday at the age of 83. The funeral took place today at the Mathugama Public Crematorium.
Well, Deputy Leader of the UNP and Minister Sajith Premadasa declared open a bridge in Suryawewa, Hambantota.
The bridge which links Kapukinisa and Suryawewa was built at a cost of 34.2 million rupees.
No matter who comes to the village and speaks of bringing about a miracle, we need to remember that it all began with the vision of late Ranasinghe Premadasa. In the past, a group went around saying Jana Udana villages will be built. That is a newborn, but it was born from the Gam Udawa concept. Another thing is the agrarian centers. What they did was convert the agrarian institutes, which we pioneered, into agrarian centers. During the past, it was only a name change that took place. If you take a look at the birth of all these concepts, it all leads to late Ranasinghe Premadasa's program to build the village and then build the nation.
Ranasinghe Premadasa Matitumage Gama Hada.
That's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara, reminding you we are coming to you live and direct from the Echelon Square where the Newsfirst Christmas Center is set up. You can always come down to the Echelon Square and join in the festivities. We will be here till the 29th of this month. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara. Good night and take care.